The Paris 2024 Olympics are 100 days away, and who better to walk us through that than the man who will play tour guide this summer for a month? Mike Tirico joining us from Paris with the Eiffel Tower in the background. You look like you're ready to go here, Mike.
I am, John. I'm just a guy who grew up in Queens in Whitestone, but there's the Eiffel Tower. It's the best I can do for a tour. If you want me to take you around Corona or Astoria, I'm better at that, but this will do for now.
I have a feeling by the time we get going this summer, you'll be an expert on all things Paris. We know that you know every last athlete. You have studied up on every last person in these games here to watch for. And the thing I love about the Olympics is storylines, obvious and ones that we don't know about, always emerge. Let's start with the obvious and the big news with men's basketball. I look at this roster that just came out, and I'm getting like dream team vibes with this. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, all on the same roster. Right. There's so many fascinating storylines with this team, but they're going for it.
Exactly. You know, I'm thinking of one of my favorite artists, Bruce Springsteen. It's like, let's get the band back one more time for one good tour, right? Let's bring the biggest names back and go out and show the world what we're made of. Steph Curry hasn't played in the Olympics, though, which is kind of interesting, given his great career, championships, MVPs. Warriors knocked out last night, so Steph will be rested. LeBron, obviously, towards the end of his career. KD as well. And I think it's a good time because USA Basketball is going to need to bring whatever resources they can. The rest of the world is catching up. We know that as we watch the NBA. So I think although the U.S. should be favored and familiar, I think this is a pretty good basketball tournament that'll happen here in Paris on the men's side.
Yeah, the rest of the world has certainly caught up with the U.S. in basketball. Unlike when we saw the Dream Team just kind of roll through things, we've learned the hard way recently that doesn't happen anymore. Steph Curry's going to be fascinating to watch. I think Knicks fans are wondering, what, no Jalen Brunson on this team?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of guys who can make it in very few spots, right? And it's almost one of those kind of earn your stripes. But I think USA Basketball, by getting the guys who have been around for so long, it lays a foundation for the next generation to participate in USA Basketball, come through the ranks. And the next games are in LA. So if Jalen Brunson can continue to do what he's done over the last year plus, then stay on this level, what better than to have an Olympics you can play in your country? Everybody dreams of that. We're going to see Victor Wembanyama, the presumptive Rookie of the Year in the NBA, here playing in his home country. The San Antonio Spurs star will play for France in these games. So you're going to see the names change, I think, over time. So just a little patience. I think Knicks fans want to see Brunson play deep into the summer, not in the Olympics, but in the Garden in the NBA playoffs.
You're absolutely right about that. When we're talking about big names and also changing of the guard, I mean, Simone Biles obviously is a huge name in gymnastics, as big as it gets right now. But this is a very deep U.S. team. What does the field look like for Team USA going into the gymnastics competition?
Well, that's going to be the big question. I think we talk about July and the Olympic Games starting in 100 days. Really, the preparations are full go for the athletes right now, because the biggest thing they have to do, John, is make the team. And we're going to have a pretty interesting month here on NBC4 because we're going to have the swimming trials, the track and field trials, the gymnastics trials. And athletes will tell you that making Team USA sometimes is harder and more pressure than competing in the Olympics. I mean, Simone Biles and Katie Ledecky, they're all greats, all-time greats. But nobody's guaranteed their spot in the games. You got to still do it and prove it. So I think we're going to be watching that, and there are many options for how the U.S. women's gymnastics team will look. So the end of June in Minneapolis is going to be a pretty interesting couple of days to form who comes here in Paris for gymnastics for the women in the United States.
It's going to be important to see Simone Biles back, not just for Team USA, but for her personally after everything she went through. Yeah. This is a big step for her.
No doubt. We love to see athletes thrive, succeed, but we also like to see them leave the stage as champions. And while there was a medal to go with Simone Biles' participation in Beijing, it wasn't what it was built up to be, which was one of the great all-time medal hauls in the history of that sport. So for her to still be willing to come back, go through the training, win the World Championships last year, the all-around, and put herself back in position to return to the Olympics, where it did not go well for her last time around, it's a great chance 3 years later, that's a long time to wait, to rewrite history and have another final chapter. She's the best of all time to anybody who's been involved in the sport already. But just to add to that would even raise her stature to a level we haven't seen in that sport.
On the track and field side, I know my eyes are going to be glued to the 100-meter. And big things expected from Team USA there.
Yeah. On both the men's and the women's, Sha'carri Richardson for the women, Noah Lyles for the men, both won the World Championships last year. So they come here to Paris right there with the best names in the world as the favorites. And if they both win, they both take the title of fastest man, fastest woman in the world, and they'll do something the U.S. hasn't done since way back in 1988, and that's sweep those two events. So that's just the tip of the iceberg, if you will, regarding a very deep and very strong U.S. track and field team. I think if there's a point of the Olympics that'll really grab your attention, it'll be the performance of Team USA in track and field over the last 8 or 9 days of the games. I think that could be a real medal haul for the United States if things go as we forecasted.
Really quickly, before we say goodbye to you here, Mr. Tirico, do you have an athlete that we're not thinking of maybe that you think, okay, we absolutely have to pay attention to what he or she does? Give us someone under the radar.
That's a good question. Haven't thought about that in the variety of sports. It's all the big names we toss out on a regular basis. You know, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with Caitlin Clark. Is she going to be part of Team USA for women's basketball? And if you've been watching for the last few weeks, you go, what are you, crazy? Of course she is. Well, the U.S. is going for an unprecedented 8th gold medal in a team sport at the Olympics, and that's the women's basketball team. There are a lot of really good players. Sabrina Ionescu, who plays for the New York Liberty, she has not played in the Olympics, even though her shoe is really popular with women and men right now, even though she's a star, and she did that three-point shoot-off with Steph Curry at the All-Star game. She's just making her Olympic debut. That's how stacked and deep the women's basketball team has been over the years. So that is going to be really intriguing to see Caitlin Clark, how that plays out over the next couple of months as she makes her WNBA debut. And will she be here, and what role will she play on Team USA in Paris? I know that's not under the radar because she's the most on the radar athlete, but I think that's one of the more intriguing stories to follow through the next couple of months leading up to the Olympic Games.
I think we got a lot to keep our eyes on and look forward to this summer.
Right, exactly.
We look forward to hearing from you all summer long from Paris.